Hi, welcome to Street Priest Ministries. I'm your host, Brother Jay. We're taking the gospel back to the streets. Today's drive-through message is the Book of Jubilees. I told you I'd get around to it. Man of my word. Say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And this is part one. I'm going to read a few chapters. Now, I taught on Jubilee. You get that teaching, what it means, the holiday. I briefly covered it. So I'm not going to go into that part. I'm just going to read. Now, if you want to understand what the significance of Jubilee, I suggest you get that teaching. I'm just reading now. This is the story, this is the history of the divisions of the days of the law and the testimony of the events of the years and of their year, weeks, and their jubilees throughout all the years of the world, as the Lord spake to Moses on Mount Sinai, when he went up to receive the tables of law and the commandment, according to the voice of God, as he said unto him, go up to the top of the mount. Now this is God's set times. There's jubilees. All the feast days were set times. Give my teaching. I think I taught on the, I didn't teach in detail, but I taught on the tabernacle. And I covered a little bit of the feast days in there, so get that. I didn't go into detail. That's a pretty long, deep subject. But all these, this was God's clock. They're called set times of the Lord, his feast days. And they had to do with his worldly clock. Christ had to be born on a feast day, die on a feast day. You read the Feast of Trumpets that was blown. You had two trumpets. And his first coming and his second coming. You had the Feast of Atonement, copper in the Hebrew. All these were significant. Christ was our atonement, our covering, our sin offering. All these feasts, the Pentecost, you can go on and on. I'm not trying to get on, I'm just giving you an example. But so was the Jubilees. This was every seventh Sabbath, 49th year, you had the 50th year of Jubilees. And so that's where we're at. And that had to do with God's clock too, dealing with worldly time. And his laws are just as operational in the supernatural world as is in the natural, whether man want to adhere to them or not. And we're going to see that. This is the history of the division of the days of the law and the testimony of the events of the years and their year weeks. And you read a lot about weeks of years. That's got to do with that in the Bible. It's being taught. Weeks. You read it in Daniel. God's dealing in ages, in weeks. You read about it in Daniel. The 70 weeks of years. And Christ was cut off in the 69th week of year. Then there's a gap of time. Then the Antichrist takes up a week of years, 7 years. This is the history of the vision. Okay. The Lord spake to Moses on Mount Sinai when he went up to receive the tables of the law and of the commandments, according to the voice of God, as he said unto him, go up to the top of the mount. And it came to pass in the first year of the exodus of the children of Israel out of Egypt, in the 3rd month, on the 16th day of the month, that God spake to Moses, saying, come up to me on the mount, and I will give thee 2 tables of stone of the law and of the commandment, which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. And Moses went up to the mount of God, and the glory. Now, for you curiosity seekers, the Book of Jubilees is mentioned in the Bible. I believe more than once. This book was originally in the Bible. It was taken out, along with the Book of Enoch, which we read out of. Get my teaching on the Book of Enoch, and the Book of Jasher. But I taught lightly on. I'm still got to read through the whole Book of Jasher. We're going to do that. But these books were originally in the Bible. They were taken out by the scholars. Should have been left here, along with the Book of Maccabees. in the third and fourth book of Ezra. I will give thee 2 tables of stone written, that thou mayest teach them. And Moses went up to the mount of God, and the glory of the Lord abode on the Mount Sinai. And a cloud overshadowed it 6 days. And he called to Moses on the 7th day out of the midst of the cloud. God in his sevens. And he called to Moses on the 7th day out of the midst of the cloud. And the appearance of the glory of the Lord was like a flaming fire on top of the mount. And Moses was on the mount 40 days and 40 nights. And God taught him the earlier and the latter history of the division of all days of the law and of the testimony. And he said, Incline thine ear to hear every word which I shall speak to thee on this mount. And I will write them in a book, in order that their generations may see how I have not forsaken them for all the evil which they have wrought in transgressing the covenant which I established between me and thee for their generations this day on Mount Sinai. And thus it will come to pass, when all these things come upon them, that they will recognize that I am more righteous than they in all their judgments and in all their actions. And they will recognize that I have been truly with them and do right. He said, when calamity come upon you, and I wrote it in advance, understand, maybe you will recognize and repent that I'm the one that caused the calamity and come back to me. Always start over with God. Repent. Metanoia. And thou write, and thou write for, and do thou write for thyself all these words which I declare unto thee this day. For I know their rebellion and their stiff neck. God said, I already know. I'm dealing with a hard-headed bunch. I understand. Before I bring them into the land of which I swear to their fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, saying, Unto your seed will I give a land flowing with milk and honey. And they will eat and be satisfied, and they will turn, and they will eat and be satisfied, and they will turn to strange gods, idols, demons, to which cannot deliver them from aught of their tribulation. Can't save you. If God be for you, who could be against you? But if God is against you, who could be for you? So he's saying these people are going to backslide when they get into the promised land. They start worshiping idols. You're already, God knows everything. He sees in advance. And this witness shall be heard for a witness against them, for they will forget all my commandments, even all that I command them. And they will walk after the Gentiles, and after their uncleanness, and after their shame, and will serve their gods. Can't mix the God of the Bible and paganism. That's what these people tried to do. They actually tried to mix both. I just taught on that. Get the teaching doctrine of the Nicolaitans. And these will prove unto them an offense, and a tribulation, and an affliction, and a snare. And many will perish. They will be taken captive, and will fall into the hands of the enemy, because they have forsaken my ordinances, and my commandments, and the festivals, his feast days, of my covenant, and my Sabbaths, and my holy place, which I have hallowed for myself in their midst, and my tabernacle, and my sanctuary, which I have hallowed for myself. For myself. You ain't to share God's holiness with anyone, in anything, in any faith. Can't mix the two. Can't get a little Buddha and a little Christ. Can't get a little Muhammad and a little Christ. Can't get a little devil and a little Christ. Can't get a little Think of a man. Can't get a little man in a little Christ. I don't care what the man is, what the personality is. Be a Jim Jones type or any kind of man. That's what I'm talking about. It's all Christ or all or nothing. Can't mix the two. Or else it's a snare. And these were proven in them an offense, and a tribulation, and an affliction, and a snare. When you try to mix in God and his pure faith with any other pagan belief or religion or system, it's a snare to you. You open the vortex for demons to come in, the Pandora's box, and wreak havoc in your life. And God can't do nothing about it because you did it to yourself. Can't mix the two. And these were proven in them offense, and a tribulation, and an affliction, and a snare. And many will perish, and they will be taken captive, and will fall into the hands of the enemy, because they have forsaken my ordinances, and my commandments, and my festivals, of my covenant, and my Sabbaths, and my holy place, which I have hallowed for myself in their midst, and my tabernacle, my sanctuary, which I have hallowed for myself in the midst of the land, that I should set my name upon it, that it should dwell there. And they will make to themselves high places and groves, and graven images, and they will worship each his own graven image, so as to go astray. And they will sacrifice their children to demons. Did you catch that? Read that again too. That's what's going on today. What's going on with this nation? Through Hollywood and the witches and wizards and warlocks. This is what they're doing. This is what God raised up President Trump to knock down. SRA, child, sex, rape, torture, and the eating of the children and drinking their blood. That's what's going on today. Nothing new under the sun is this pagan religion. Fallen angels, demons, taught man that back in the book of Enoch that we read. And nothing's changed. This pagan religion, human sacrifice, child sacrifice. Read that again. Images they will worship, each his own graven image, so as to go astray, and they will sacrifice their children to demons. To demons. That's what you're sacrificing your kids to. Abortion, demons. That's Baal worship. Sacrificing your children to demons. Fallen angels taught man that back in the book of Enoch. Nothing new under the sun. Sacrifice their children to demons, and to all the work of the error of their hearts. And I will send witnesses unto them, that I may witness against them. I've had his prophets. But they will not hear, and will slay the witnesses also. And they will persecute those who seek the law. And they will abrogate. They're going to cancel out and change everything so as to work evil before my eyes. They're going to pervert my word. They're going to water my word down so they can continue to do evil. They're going to abrogate and change everything so as to work evil before my eyes. And I shall hide my face from them, and I shall deliver them unto the hand of the Gentiles for captivity, and for a prey, and for devouring. And I shall remove them from the midst of the land, and I shall scatter them among the Gentiles. And they will forget all my law, and all my commandments, and all my judgments, and will go astray as to new moons, and Sabbaths, and festivals, and jubilees, and ordinances. New. Changing of the time. That's what happened when we went under Constantine's pagan religion from Babylon. Everything was changed. That's what I started out saying. days, dates, times change. All our days are pagan, moon, everything named after the moon and sun god, including Sunday, which is the worship of the sun day. And all the other pagan god, the moon day, Monday, all that, pagan. Thanks to the doctrine of the Nicolaitans. This is what we have now. And I shall have my face with them, and shall deliver them into the hand of the Gentiles for captivity and for prey, and for devouring. And I shall remove them from the midst of the land, and I shall scatter them amongst the Gentiles. It's called the diaspora. And they will forget all my law, and all my commandments, and all my judgments, and will go astray to new moons, and Sabbaths, and festivals, and jubilees, and ordinances. And after this, they will turn to me from amongst the Gentiles with all their heart, and with all their soul, and with all their strength. And I shall gather them from amongst all the Gentiles, and they will seek me, so that I shall be found of them. When they seek me with all their heart, and with all their soul, and I shall disclose to them abounding peace with righteousness, and I shall remove them from the plant of unrighteousness. God called it a plant. He talked about in the New Testament, Jesus talked about tares being sown among the wheat, false wheat, a fake-looking wheat. And they grew up together. He said, no, let them alone. And the angels are going to come and separate them. And the tares are going to go into the fire, which represents hell, and the wheat into the barn, which represents hell. He's talking the same thing here with this plant. It's intertwined with his people. His false doctrine, false religion. The Bible says Satan can appear as an angel of light. It's no marvel that his ministers appear as ministers of righteousness. And I shall gather them from amongst all the nations, and they shall seek me, so that I shall be found of them. And they shall seek me with all their heart and with all their soul. And I shall disclose to them abounding peace with righteousness, and shall remove them the plant of unrighteousness with all my heart and with all my soul. And they will be me for a blessing and not for a curse. And they will be the head and not the tail. And I shall build my sanctuary in their midst, and I shall dwell with them, and shall be their God, and they will be my people in truth and righteousness. And I shall not forsake them, nor fail them, for I am the Lord their God. And Moses fell on his face and prayed and said, O Lord my God, do not forsake thy people and thy inheritance, so that they should wander in the error of their hearts, and do not deliver them into the hands of their enemies, the Gentiles, lest they should rule over them, and cause them to sin against thee. Let thy mercy, O Lord, be lifted up on thy people, and create in them an upright spirit, and let not the spirit of Beliar rule. Now Satan is called the father of lies. That's what Jesus called him. He said, he told the Pharisees, scribes, and Sadducees, you're your father the devil. He's a liar from the get-go, from the beginning. And a murderer. And Moses refers to the spirit of Beliar to rule over them, to accuse them before. Satan is called the accuser. That's what devil means, diabolos, accuser. See, Satan has set a trap for you in a snare and get you out of step with God, and then accuse you to God. And say, see, you should kill him and let him be with me. It's only God's grace that we hadn't died in our sin. When you die in your sin, you are with him. But that's what he does. He accuses. He's a prosecuting attorney, I call him. The cosmos prosecuting attorney. Thee to ensnare them from all paths of righteousness, so that they perish from before thy face. But they are thy people and thy inheritance, which thou hast delivered with thy great power from the hand of the Egyptians. Create in them a clean heart and a holy spirit, and let them not be ensnared in their sins from henceforth until eternity. And the Lord said unto Moses, I know their contrariness, and their thoughts, and their stiff-neckedness, and they will not be obedient till they confess their own sin and the sin of their father. And after this they will turn to me in all uprightness, and with all their heart, and with all their soul. And I shall deliver, and I shall circumcise the foreskin of their heart, and the foreskin of their heart of their seed. And I shall create in them a holy spirit, and shall cleanse them, so that they shall not turn away from me from that day until eternity. And their souls will cleave to me, to all my commandments, and they will fulfill my commandments. And I shall be their father, and they will be my children. And they will all be children of the children of the living God. And every angel and every spirit will know, yea, they will know that these are my children, and that I am their father in uprightness and in righteousness, and that I love them. And I'll do write down for thyself all these words which I declare unto thee on this mountain, the first and last, which shall come to pass in all the divisions of the days in the law, and in the testimony, and in the weeks and the jubilees unto eternity, until I descend and dwell with them throughout eternity. Okay, that's it for now. We dug in. This is the first part. We'll continue later with the Book of Jubilees. All right, if I'm the one taught you give, go to streetpriestministry.org, hit the donate button, tithes, first fruit, alabaster box. Belong to the Lord. If you don't know nothing about it, get to teaching, and I'm not talking to you anyway. Only those that's been taught. Galatians 6:6. Including you thieving bastards. Good day, good evening, good night to you around the world. May you grow in faith in Jesus' name.